Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of Culture and Decay here on the Swampcast Network. Today, I am joined by one of my buddies, a fellow artist here, Top Lobster.
Hey, what's up, man? It's a pleasure to be with you today. What's going on?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man. It's good to have the alpha of the crustaceans here on the show, so that'll be really interesting. I do have some things I would like to discuss with you, specifically in regards to art, liberty, and all sorts of other things. But before we get into that, I figure I might as well start this off by asking you the one thing that I ask everyone who comes on this show. Or two things, technically. Number one, what is your favorite conspiracy theory?
Ooh, favorite as like one that I believe, or just spiciest?
Just favorite. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be something you believe, but something you would think like, yeah, that's interesting. You know what I mean?
They're right. They kind of go hand in hand. So the moon landing and flat Earth, those are hands down my favorites. That exist. And
Really?
I could extrapolate. I mean, the flat Earth is it's an amazing troll, but it's also one of those things where it might be legit, because especially throughout like 2020 and 2020 through 2022, and you see how much the government's been lying to us about just about everything. It's fun to kind of just entertain that. And the moon landing, of course, I don't think we've ever been off the planet, so that's a fun hole to dive down deep into. All the interviews with like the spacemen who came back, and they're kind of downtrodden in their meeting instead of discussing. I love that shit, man. Those are my favorites.
Huh, so it sounds like you've really kind of gone down the rabbit hole in regards to some of the different space conspiracies and all that different stuff.
I'm an avid listener of Tinfoil Hat by Sam Tripoli, so yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that kind of brings me around to the second question then, and that is, what conspiracy would you not be surprised to learn is true? And I think based on what you just said, you may have just answered that.
Yeah, the moon landing conspiracy. I feel like there's no doubt in my mind that's bullshit. Another conspiracy I wouldn't be surprised. Lizard people, for sure.
That's the one that I always say whenever people ask me, because it's like, I feel like that one is just outlandish enough that I would be like, you know what? This just doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. I mean, have you seen like some of the people like blinking sometimes, and they'll have like lizard eyes, like they'll just like morph sort of out of character, and just the way they act, like the blatant disregard for humanity with most of these politicians or global elites.
Well, I mean, have you seen that video of like Hillary Clinton spitting that green stuff into a glass?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh my god, like that was like, there was like, I don't know what the fuck. It was like this green stuff. Like, I don't know if it was mucus or if it was. Of course, conspiracy theorists are saying like it's all sorts of like reptile goo or something. But like,
oh man, you're radicalizing me. Yeah.
yeah, radicalizing. I don't know, man. The way I look at it, the most bullshit conspiracies make for great campfire stories, and the reptilians are no exception to that. David Icke has a great campfire story.
I would say, like, Bigfoot is one of those that's kind of it's like it just doesn't matter so much, but then they start getting into the interdimensionality of Bigfoot. That's how they spun it, because it, like, the world got a lot smaller with cameras and stuff. So they're like, someone would have found this fucking guy already if he existed. Now they're like, no, he's going through portals and man, what's that ranch called in like the middle of the country over there?
Skinwalker Ranch.
yeah. He's going through portals there and popping out in the Everglades or wherever the hell he's coming from. So I'm like, all right, that's fun, but that's bullshit. But lizard people, yeah, man, they definitely rule us. They hate us. It's obvious.
What if it turns out the interdimensional Bigfoots are real, but the lizard people are not?
Oh, I'd probably off myself. No.
Really? Damn.
No.
You heard it here first, folks.
That's what it'll take. So, if I end up on Hillary Clinton's hit list, that's, that it's bullshit unless that came out and that happened. I would never do that to myself.
Never Epstein yourself.
Yeah, but, for sure. And neither did he. So,
No, he did not. That's the one that I don't think anyone would be surprised to learn is true.
Yeah, that's one that I wouldn't even. I guess people will consider that conspiracy theory right now, but I don't know. That just seems like basic fact. to me.
The only people pushing the other narrative is like the corporate news, so it's kind of like this weird situation of like, you guys are pretending this is the case. Everyone seems to realize this isn't the case. You're still acting like this is the case. We know this isn't the case.
Yeah.
And you're still kind of, it's kind of like that old Yuri Bezmenov quote.
Yeah. Or the Alexander Solzhenitsyn.
I'm sorry,
They know.
Solzhenitsyn, not. I had that backwards. Yeah, it was Solzhenitsyn. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Another Russian. Yeah, we know they're lying. They know we know they're lying, and they continue to lie anyway. It's tremendous. Yeah.
That based Russian.
Another great conspiracy theory was 2020 or even before that with the whole digital passport / vaccine stuff. Is like, oh, they're gonna force everyone, and that was conspiracy theory, and now we're just kind of like basic fact. Like it's crazy.
It's kind of become this weird thing where it's like all the most outlandish conspiracies that I never thought would be true are now true, and all the ones that I thought would be real all ended up not happening.
Yeah, well, the FEMA, what do they call it? Alex Jones called it like the FEMA health camps.
Yeah,
he was talking about that stuff in like 2005, and now I see what they're doing in Seattle. They had like a Craigslist ad where they're hiring guards for these camps that they're building out there, and I'm like, that's gonna happen, you know? It's already in Australia and Austria, a couple other places. Scary. China.
Yeah. That's the type of shit that scares me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
That's why we have to create the free state of Florida down here.
Hell yeah. That's what I mean. I've been preaching it, man. I'm making my way down there soon.
Come on,
I've
man.
been preaching
Join
it.
us, Florida, man.
I am.
We'll show you that skunk ape is the best version of Bigfoot.
Skunk ape? What the hell is that?
Yeah, that's what Bigfoot's called down in the Everglades, skunk ape.
And it's the same thing, or is it
basically the same thing, except he's a more aggressive version of Bigfoot, supposedly.
Wow.
I'm assuming that it's kind of like the kid that got bullied in class by calling it skunk ape. He's kind of like, giving off that shooter thing.
Yeah.
It has no access to guns.
I did hear that like every state has their own version of Bigfoot. So like even like Puerto Rico has like a version, but it's like a small foot. It's called the Chupacabra. They're like the blood. It sucks the blood out of the cows. Everyone has like some weird variation of it.
Yeah, the Chupacabra is that's kind of a different one from what I understand. But like, yeah, it's like Ohio. They have the Grassman. In the Himalayas, it's the Yeti. Like,
yeah,
something about big ass monkeys, man. People just want to see them out in the woods. I don't know why.
It's kind of racist, but whatever. Yeah.
I wasn't going for that, but okay. And just like that, I am canceled.
I'm doing my part.
Thank you. And years from now, when I get Rogan, this is going to be the first clip that they pull. Except
yeah, well, I mean, we can only hope that we make it that big. They're gonna have a ton of footage on me, so whatever.
Yeah, footage, tweets, everything. At this point, they have a stockpile. But as far as we are right now, if we're comparing ourselves to Rogan, we're F list.
Yeah. Oh, the
Not
negative
even on
F.
the D list, bro.
I'm not even on the grade card. So, yeah, man, that clip that came out with him dropping all the N-bombs like the other day, I was like, oh god, like something must be broken in me because it just made me like him more. It made me like what he used to be. He's
Rogan never gave a fuck even back in the day, man. He had a bit like which it was like the 3 words that if you say it, like people will be like, oh fuck, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was like the number 1 word. And like he says it, and then there's a huge gasp in the room, and his joke was basically like, yeah, you feel that? That's proof of what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
He really knew how to like do comedy. Like he still does, but he's obviously grown. He's older now, It's kind of like artists change as they grow. No other way to put it. Like I just thought it was stupid that he apologized because the people he's apologizing to don't want an apology. They just want to be mad.
He knows that too. He said it before. He's had on Jordan Peterson. They've spoke about it, but it still is. It's one of those things. Maybe I'll give him the benefit of the doubt where the pressure is actually applied on you. You don't know how you're going to react.
Yeah.
You can train to fight and all that, but you get into a real fight, somebody punches you in the nose, and how you react is probably vastly different than what you thought you would do. So I think that's kind of what happened to him. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens, but like on the topic of art though too, I was wanting to get into kind of your journey as an artist and how you kind of came about into this scene and and all that?
I've always been an artist, I guess. I draw. I also play guitar. You told me you were playing right before we came on stream here. It's just kind of
You're
I didn't
playing
know
Marty
that.
Robbins.
Oh, cool. What are you playing there? What kind of guitar you got?
I got an LTD over here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm more of an acoustic. I have a Martin, and I have like an Ibanez Electric, and I have a Gibson, a Les Paul, and I used to have a Strat that I sold. I sold the Strat to buy this tablet, which is actually a pretty good investment. It broke my heart like maybe a couple of years ago. I had the Olympic white Jimi Hendrix Strat,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, with the maple neck, it was American, and man, just a beautiful guitar. And I sold it for like 1,000, and I had to put maybe a couple hundred extra for this tablet. But I was like, I think I can make this work, and maybe I'll make enough money to buy back that guitar, and I think I have, but I just haven't bought the guitar back. I just haven't had time to pick it back up. But so that's actually a good segue into how my journey into the artistry got here. I never even told that story. I forgot I sold that guitar. Um, but yeah, so I've been drawing my whole life, and never thought to really monetize it. Kind of just did it for fun. Um, it was kind. I guess I was into the arts because I love music. Played that, picked the guitar up, put that down, played in bands and stuff. And when I got into like politics 2015, 2016, around like the whole Trump movement, I wasn't really paying attention too much before. I was kind of doing my own thing. I I don't know, maybe I was just inspired by something or other to draw. Maybe the memes. Maybe the memes really made me want to like get into it. So I started to draw and do different things like that. I drew t-shirts for the guys at my job. They loved it. That stuff sold. So, my print on demand acumen started to build around that. Uh, and then my graphic design stuff for the Liberty Movement wasn't necessarily pointed at like sales or t-shirts or things like that. It was just kind of like shit posting mostly, I think. And one of the first ones I did was of Robbie the Fire. I put a crown on him and it said King of the Cocks, and
Oh,
he
that was
loved it.
you.
And yeah, he had it on his header for a long time, which is really cool. Yeah, oh, that's pretty cool that you saw that. Yeah, so
Good shit. Yeah, no, I saw that one. I wasn't sure where that came from.
yeah, that it doesn't look like my stuff because it was like old. It was like when I was really first learning how to like format and layer my stuff, which we were talking about over DMs like a while back up. So yeah, I just sent it to him, and I didn't, he didn't know me, I didn't know him, but I was in the inner circle on Facebook before they got nuked, and he thought it was cool. So I was like, shit, that's really cool. So then I started to do more and started to like, try to learn. Actually, interesting story with the program that we're using now, the Affinity Designer. I had never done graphic design before. I kind of researched. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I researched like what are good programs that can do this or that. And Affinity Designer came up, and I didn't understand the difference between like a vector persona and a pixel persona, which is like super important.
Yeah.
Had no idea. So I'm working within the vector persona. This is probably like really like what do they call that, like behind the scenes stuff, like people don't care, but I don't know, we'll tell them anyway.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I was working within the vector persona, and I couldn't figure out how to even color a shape. I couldn't. I didn't understand the stroke and the fill. Like just basic stuff. And I was like getting frustrated. I was about to just put it down. If you ask my wife will tell you. She was like, I was like, I'm just gonna quit and probably return this tablet because this is ridiculous. And that was about 3 years ago, maybe. Um. Anyway, I figured it out. Long story short, and I started to do more drawings and more, I don't know, more liberty-based drawings and stuff like that. I started to do liberty-based T-shirts, just things I found interesting. And in the beginning, like nobody, you know how it is. If you're just starting off, nobody really gives a shit. Like you can post stuff, 0 likes, 0 attention. But for some reason, I just kept drawing and doing this stuff and pushing and pushing. It's like the definition of insanity, where you get the same results, but you just keep doing it anyway. So yeah, that's what I was doing for a long time. And I think my first my first like break, or at least like part of encouragement, was from Dave Smith. I did the libertarian Tupac, him with the skank hands, and he's got like the tattoos. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, that's another one that once again I didn't know you made that one, the Libertarian
Yeah.
Tupac. I'm not gonna lie, I always thought that was like Dave Casey.
Oh no, yeah. Dave Casey's amazing too.
Yeah.
He's one of the first people that I met in the movement, like just super nice to me, like before, before anybody knew like who was drawing or, my face or anything. Super nice, super welcoming. I was like ask him questions and stuff, and he's awesome. But yeah, so I did that drawing, put it in the inner circle, and Dave's guy, I think Brian McKay or something, hit me up, and he was like, "Oh, could we use this for Gas Digital?" It's like, absolutely. So I was like, "All right, this is cool. There's something here. If they like my design enough that they're gonna pick it up and and sell it," I was like, "That's just amazing." So from there, it was all downhill. I just kept learning and kept getting better, and you could cut me off if you want, but I'll tell you just like everything, because I could just go on. It's kind of crazy.
I mean, I'll cut in there for a minute at least, because
Yeah.
it's interesting the way you're describing that, because that's kind of what happened with me, except with Josh Smith. And funny enough, the thing that I did for him isn't even my best work. Like I kind of look back at that the way you would probably look back at the Robbie the Fire thing, where it's like it's good, but man, like looking back, if I had the tools that I did now, I could have made that like incredible.
Did you do the original Break the Cycle for his run?
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I've seen that shirt on Tom Woods. I've seen him with. Ah, man, you have some work out there that I've seen it like a number of times, and I'm pretty sure it's you. But I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to.
That's the thing. There's a lot of people that I've seen stuff like that with, and it's kind of funny how that goes. It's like I've seen this stuff around for the years, and now to kind of like meet some of these people, it's kind of like this funny. Like there's almost like this little art scene that's popped up as like a little sideshow within the Liberty world.
Yeah, it's super necessary though, because without the art, or like we need more musicians and everything like that. But without the art, this is just like two people talking.
Oh yeah.
You got to have like these. I just feel like I'm the guy on the corner just shooting like little pop shot arrows and kind of coloring the scene in as these guys go and do what they're great at. But now when I see your work, when I see Mitch's stuff, I say, I know right away, because your style has developed to a point where I kind of understand your tendencies and what you're doing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's kind of the funny thing is like I've noticed like even with you as well, like there's a distinct style. Like we both have done like the vaporwave stuff, but like my stuff is a little bit more gritty, I'd say. Your stuff is a lot more almost cartoony at times.
Yeah, I like to keep it light, like a little bit lighthearted.
Yeah,
But
like
yeah.
there's definitely more of a lighthearted thing with yours. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
But it's really cool, kind of how you can notice those things as you get more entrenched in like the art scene and everything like that, as
Yeah.
compared to just being new and getting a hang of everything. Like, do you have like an introduction to art? Like, there was any sort of thing that got you into this? Like, any inspirations?
Drawing in general.
Yeah.
Did you see? I had it as my profile picture for a long time, and one of my appearances on Josh Smith, it was me as like a lobster, but I had like the eyes tentacles coming out of my head, and I was cutting Bill Gates in half.
Oh
Did you see that
yeah,
one?
I was looking for that one for the thumbnail, but I had to settle for your photo.
You should have asked me. I'd send it to you. That one, obviously, when you look at it, that's not my style. That's my cousin's style. This Nelson Gonzalez, or Moondog, as he calls himself. He's a tremendous artist, and since we were probably like 3 or 4, or just old enough to really like write words on a paper and draw, I'd sleep over his house, or he'd come over mine, and we'd be drawing like cartoons, like itchy and scratchy comic books, and just crazy shit like that. And that's how my art career began, with my cousin. He's always been better than me. He still is better than me. He's lazy, but he's absolutely tremendous. So I wanted, yeah, with that piece there, I wanted to pay a little homage to him. I paid him. I said, "Yo, here's like $100 or whatever it was." I was like, "Just, give me something nice right off the top of your head," and he knocked it out the park. So that's where my art background comes from. Then in junior high school, I was in it was like Mark Twain Gifted and Talented Art Program, and I did that. I hated it because at the time the teachers were like big on abstract stuff, and they,
Oh.
yeah, when you go to school, they want to like confine you and teach you the rules, and it's, I guess it's the same thing with music too. Like, but
Yeah, it's. I feel like schooling. It's really like you really have to be lucky to get those great artsy teachers, and I feel like I've had both. I've had teachers that were tremendous, like the guy who I would credit to the reason I'm doing this show today and the reason why we're talking. Um, I honestly want to get him on the show at some point, but there's other art people who I've known who, for lack of a better way of putting it, it's just like they they are more so a part of the school system itself, meant to kind of bash out the creativity and make things conform to like this sort of structure, as
yes,
compared to giving, art is about creativity. You kind of have to give them the freedom they need to, learn what is creative. Like the truly good teacher that I'm thinking of, he helped me find what style worked with me.
mm,
That was more so what came out of it. It just so happened, like, once I discovered that, he was just like, yeah, keep on doing stuff, show me shit, make sure you get a good grade.
yeah. I
Um,
remember I wasn't quite interested in the lessons she was teaching, because at the time, like for me at the time, like anime was a really big thing, so that was influencing all my work. And she was a little older, so they didn't get it. So when I would draw things like that, like that are flavored in that style, she'd be like, "This isn't what I asked for. This does not, like, this is not within the assignment." Only to find out, what, 10 years later, anime is like the biggest thing in art, and it probably still is. It's like huge. It
so,
influences everything you see.
so you're saying you were an early pioneer in big anime titties?
Yes, I was. I had my waifu wife painted out in junior high school, and then I married her a few years later.
Oh my
Yeah.
god! I was
Yeah,
doing it before it was cool.
before it was cool, bro. What did they say? Was that tentacle porn or something like
Yeah, the tentacle people.
that? But yeah, it's the foresight of the non foresight of the teachers within that program, and I can't even blame them. They have a curriculum, and they're asked to look for certain things, and they're there for a paycheck, and then they go home. They don't. She wasn't there to cultivate, you know, artists or people that what they thought that, whatever they thought in their brain or what they saw where things were going. So it is what it is. And I've had music teachers the same way, and they've taken a lot of my creativity away. It's hard, like when you get so inundated with theory, it's hard to break it sometimes and go back into a creative mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, at least with like music theory, I don't know how you are with that, because I'll be honest, I didn't know you were a musician until you came on today. But with
Yeah.
me, it's like whenever I get into music theory, it's like I'll learn how to read sheet music, I'll kind of get into that, and then I'll just forget it and I'll go back to just doing shit by ear.
Yeah, I was like very good at sheet music for a while, but since I'm a guitar player, I'm like, I don't need it. I'd rather
Yeah.
use like a fake sheet, like, just a chord book or something like that, or what is it, Ultimate Guitar. Find the key of the song if I'm having trouble, and then from there, just, once you know the key of the song, you know every note and you know all the chords within it, unless there's variations that, But if you're playing popular music, it's just going to be, the straight seven chords that are allowed within. So
Yeah,
yeah,
four chord progression, that whole thing.
yeah, the money chords most likely, yeah. But
Yeah.
I like to delve out into like crazier, more wacky stuff. Like the Reign of Kendo is one of my favorite bands. They're kind of like, I don't even know what to call them. They're just a mix of everything, but they do it wonderfully. You know, changes in time, slips in keys, and things like that. They're great. So
Really just this exotic, out of the normal kind of sound, I'm assuming.
yeah, yeah. The vocals, the vocalist is like, has like, I guess, pop vocals, pop rock vocals. The guitars are blues rock. The drummer has like a Spanish flavor to him. The pianist is like classically trained, so it's a mix of all these things, and then they can play anything else also. They're just an amazing band. The Reign of Kendo, if anyone's interested, check them out, man. They're really good.
Interested. Um, but the it's interesting that you bring up music and stuff too, because like before we were talking about, you kind of briefly brought up how how we need to influence like culture and stuff like that more. And as much as I love the Ron Paul movement of 2011, 2012, I think that's kind of where it sorely was lacking, and where we're just now starting to really see somewhat of a resurgence in. Because like you didn't come in until 2015, 2016 time frame of things. Um, when there was the Ron Paul movement going on back in the day, the only things I could think of as far as like cultural things that we contributed to the zeitgeist was basically owning the internet at the time, the way Trump's people owned the internet in 2016.
Hmm.
And, Amy Allen, the one girl from the Interrupters, had that one song, but also had some pretty anti like government music and stuff. So, and then there was that one guy, Jordan Page, who, was cool and all, but he's more like that guy who shows up to the protest with an acoustic guitar, not so much the guy who's going to like completely change the zeitgeist. You know what I mean? Not
Yeah,
trying to insult him. He's talented, but like that's more so the vibe he gives off.
it's a it's a I don't want to insult these people. They're talented and all this stuff, but I think it's not to say that they're misguided. Obviously, they're doing the right things. They have like a great cause, but sometimes I view like political music, or even like what I do sometimes, political art, which is I guess where I'm in, sort of. I view it as almost like Christian rock. If you've ever heard it,
No, no.
it's it's
Go on.
like it can be good. It can be like sound good, technically good, but there's something about it. You know what I mean? Because I'm here with a I'm here with like an obvious message that I need to do. You know what I mean? That's
Okay,
not culture.
it's funny that you bring that up because I actually have a Christian rock band's album in my CD case in my car. A little band called Poverty Branch from when I was went to Baptist school.
Hey, listen, I'm not hating on it. I met my wife in church. I was playing the guitar, and she was the singer. So, and I did that for years. We played for probably like 5, 6 years in that church. That's
No,
I
no,
mean,
I mean I get what you're saying. I'm making the joke where it's like you're really reminding me of something the way you describe that.
yeah, it's good, but I don't. Yeah, I just don't. The message is obvious, and you know it's coming. It's not. It doesn't move culture. I don't think
Well, that
it doesn't move the broader culture.
I think that's the problem. And are you familiar with Ayn Rand's Romantic Manifesto at all?
No, I've
It's
read.
basically
Yeah, go ahead.
it's basically one of her essay books. It's not a story or anything like that, but it's basically her opinions on art, culture, things like that. And in it, she kind of highlights that there's two-way people absorb politics and things like that, and philosophy. It's either through dense philosophical readings, which a lot of libertarians autistically get into, or it's through art, basically, what they consume through their art and the morals that they end up digesting. I think the problem with libertarians and stuff like that is they put the morals and the messages first, when in actuality, like if you're writing a story about a main character who goes on an adventure, for a libertarian, it would be they're going on this adventure for freedom and all that and blah blah blah, and they would completely pack every scene with everything liberty. We've seen this before with people who've made libertarian films. But if you were to do it the proper way and actually tell a good story, you would have this be a really good story. And it would just so happen to be that the message that was learned along the way was one about self-empowerment and individuality or something like that.
Yes,
But
and
but the story
uh,
itself would be good and could stand on its own.
a white pill here though is that when you look at the left, like of the past, the art that they would create, because they dominate the culture.
Oh
There's
yeah.
no questions about it. The art that they've created in the past is, it's dominated the culture. It's great, but what they're creating now is what we're talking about. It's the message first and foremost. There must be a black, non-binary person in a wheelchair as the main character, and his boyfriend is Latinx, whatever, trans. It has
Latinx.
to be that way. Yeah, they have to push the message, and you know what? That's good. Let them do that because they're gonna die, and that's not gonna last. But we have to learn from their mistakes. So Like,
I think we need to actually create our own, like take back the indies and start making good art because they're not doing it. Like
yeah,
this is our chance basically.
yeah, and good art doesn't have to, like you said, it doesn't have to be like a direct arrow pointed at liberty. You don't have to say libertarian or Ron Paul in your songs. It just has to be good. And then when they inquire more about, like, into you, what are you about, you find out, oh, this person's like a Phil Labonte. And then you know, maybe that's the way. And then you look at his Twitter page, and then you get increasingly more based from there. I'm not sure exactly.
I don't know. I mean, it's a path for everyone. Like in my case, have you ever heard of the book The Giver?
Yeah, I've heard. I mean, I think I've
Never
read
read
it in
it, but
junior
know
high
of it.
school.
Oh, you read it?
In
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember
There's
it though.
also, I mean, there also is a movie based on it that is actually really good, mainly because the author had literally 100% creative control, and it's very underrated. If you don't remember the book, at least go watch the movie. It's very good. But you know, I think that's the most inadvertent libertarian book that I ever read because when I found libertarianism, it was kind of like the message that I took from that book was clarified when I had gotten older. Like
Mm,
this idea of individuality and you being, you know, not following the herd and everything like that. Um, those all resonated in that story, but that's a story I don't think Leanne Lowry is a libertarian. I'm positive she isn't. Everything that I've looked, just not what I've seen, like, you know. But, you know, it's different for everyone, and that I think that's just, you know, it shows you the power of a story that is about individuality, empowering the person. Um, you know, those sort of key themes that we see even in other stories that aren't necessarily libertarian.
yeah,
But
you know, reading some children's books to my daughter. I mean, Dr. Seuss was strangely libertarian. I mean, uh, some of the books, Yertle the Turtle comes to mind, where it's not necessarily libertarian, but it is individual empowering, where the
yeah,
king turtle wants to see, he wants the highest throne, so he stacks all the other turtles up. I don't know
I
if it's
if you want to teach your kids about COVID passports, read them the story about the Starbelly Sneetches.
yeah.
Because think about it, the Sneetches, the ones that get the preferential treatment, are the ones that get the stars on their bellies,
Ah,
and the other ones
yeah,
get, you know, it's basically the story's about a caste system.
yeah,
It's actually
yeah,
really brilliant.
and
Like,
yeah. Well, that's culture. It's not necessarily applying the name or a brand of libertarian to it, but it's the underlying message. But as long as you're telling the story in an interesting way, maybe it's about disguising your message. It and I'm not sure. I don't know.
I don't know. I think the problem is too that libertarians want to encompass this grand, gigantic philosophy when it's like if you want to red pill people, you have to put like little bits of that sort of stuff in there. You know what I mean? You're not going to have the entire philosophy of liberty in something. You're maybe like I keep on mentioning individuality because that's a big theme. Maybe just like touch on that and something else, like, you know,
Yeah.
to encompass the whole thing, to create Atlas Shrugged itself is like, you know, unthinkable, and only one person did it. And frankly, some people love that book. Other people, like Matt Stone and Trey Parker, can't stand it.
Yeah. So you're telling us to, like, take a lesson from the government, like how they put fluoride in the water to dumb us down little by little. But what we have to do is put and they're making us all gay and the frog's gay. What we have to do is put tiny red pills in the water little by little, and after a generation of drinking it, we'll have an increasingly based society. I like the way you think, Mitch. Absolutely genius.
I owe it to the master, Michael Malice, of whom I still need to think of a better line to tell next time I see him.
What
But
did you tell him? What did you say to him? Oh God.
I never told you that story.
No.
Oh, dude, funny. Okay, so funny story. I met Michael Malice at Tom Woods 2000, and Fat Dave was there too. And of course, he's involved in the story. So me, Fat Dave, Duke, and Fat Dave's wife were all walking outside down by the pool, and we saw, this was at Tom Woods 2000. We saw Michael Malice eating dinner with some people down in like the little pool deck area, not like the pool itself, but like the little dining area by there.
Yeah.
And I walked by and I said, "Oh my God, it's moderately successful author Michael Malice." To which
Oh God.
Fat Dave was like, "Dude, you should totally say that to him when you see him later at the social." And I'm just like, I don't know if I'm going to do that, you know. You know, and of course, Fat Dave being Fat Dave, he's like, fine, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it. And I'm like, fuck, now I got to do it. So later that night at the social, I technically snuck in as the name Michael Hughes. I only want to say that because Michael Hughes gave me his identity to use to get into the premium event because he couldn't make it.
Yeah.
And my God, every spy movie you've ever seen, it feels so good to check in and be like, yeah, Michael Hughes. Oh, well, have a good time, Mr. Hughes. Like, all right. You know what I mean? Like taking someone's identity, like in one of those things. Like something about that just feels hilarious and awesome.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're at the thing. There's like a little crowd around Michael Malice. His back is to me. He's talking to someone else. And Fat Dave just starts saying, say the line, say the line, say the line. And I'm like, no, just come on, give it a second. He's talking to someone. Michael Malice then turns around. What's the line?
Oh God.
So Fat Dave has already ruined the punchline, and this is the reason I refuse to acknowledge Fat Dave's real name, just like China will not acknowledge the glorious nation of Taiwan. So he's just Fat Dave, and he will always be Fat Dave to me.
He's not even fat.
I know he's not fat. And his name isn't even really Dave, but still.
What a loser.
Yeah, I know, right? Just like that rogue state of China that's in West Taiwan. But anyways, you know, he turned around, what's the line? To where I just, oh my God, it's moderately successful author Michael Malice. That's the line?
That's actually a really good Michael Malice impression, though.
Okay, I have been working on it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why, because I know Josh Smith is not going to watch this. Or if he does, he'll figure it out, and that'll completely ruin the effect. I'm trying to work on my Michael Malice impression because we've been trolling Josh, and he says he'll only come on Swamp Creatures if we can get Michael Malice on his show. Well, we cannot get Michael Malice on his show.
Yeah,
but I was
tried.
a thespian, and I can figure out voices. So if I can get Stewie Griffin, maybe I can do this. So,
oh man! Yeah. So you're gonna do like a blank screen for him and act like you're Malice?
I mean, either that or we get a sock puppet. I'm not going to invest in some expensive ass puppet like Malice did, but I'll make a sock puppet. I think that's pretty good.
Oh God! Let me tell you my Malice story for the Tom Woods 2000. Oh, I saw him in that lobby area right outside of the show, and I was like, oh shit, Michael Malice. And I had a shirt that I had printed out. I wanted to give him. It was the Louis Ling one, the Hooray for Anarchy. So I saw him and I'm like, I was kind of like nervous to go up to him. And Ashton Birdie was up, like she was talking, and then she was like, she brought me in. She's like, oh, come over here and talk. I was like, oh, cool. So I was like, hey, Mike, what's going on? I have something for you. So I gave him the shirt, and he was like, really cool. And then he was like, hey, do you want to take a picture with me? And immediately I was like, no. I just told him no, like three. I was like, no, I don't want to take it. No. And he's like, why not? I was just like, just no. I was like, I thought it was like a more power move if I didn't take a picture with him. And I think it was. But now I look back, I'm like, I don't have a fucking picture of Michael Malice. That's fine. So he was really cool, though. He was like, he's like, oh, this is a great shirt. Thanks. And then he's like, you want to see who my special guest is? So I was like, nah, you're just going to troll me. And he's like, no, I'll tell you the truth. And I was like, I don't believe you. So he's like, no, come here. So he actually showed me. He had the picture of the dummy in his phone, and he showed it to me. And immediately, I'm like, "Oh God, are you fucking kidding me?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, they're going to be really mad. And he's like, "I know." It's like, Jesus Christ.
Okay, so that confirms what we were thinking all along. This was a big troll.
Oh yeah, it was a huge troll, and it was not lost upon him that people were going to be so he took the air out of the room, and he knew it. I told him, I was like, people are going to be really fucking mad when you do this. He's like, yep, I know. I still thought that he was, I thought that like Alex Jones would be there or something, but man, such a letdown. Yeah.
He truly is the master of trolls.
Yes. I mean, yeah.
He trolled so hard that a drunk guy came up and started shouting at the audience.
That was amazing too. I thought I was like, is this part of the show?
I thought it was at first. I wasn't sure what to think. I was like,
somebody slammed him, then they dragged him off the stage. I was like, this is fucking crazy.
It wouldn't have been a Tom Woods event if there wasn't a truly good physical removal.
Yeah, I was hoping maybe Hopper would show up, but instead we got some fucking drunk guy. I guess it's
Imagine
just as
if
good.
they had removed the drunk guy and then Hoppa just walked out. It was all an act.
Yeah.
Like that was his intro.
That would have been amazing. But yeah, so
Uh,
that's my Michael Malice story. You know.
that makes me happier to hear then that he was going into this knowing exactly what he was doing. But
Yes.
the crazy thing with Malice though is I feel like he's a good example of someone who's really starting to pierce the culture. I don't even, not even just libertarian, but like anarchist and everything like that. Like he's becoming a lot more prominent, and it's interesting to kind of watch how that's been unfolding.
Yeah, probably because he doesn't have the stigma or the name of libertarian on him. He's
Yeah,
anarchist, and he's like this. He's like a playful troll or like a malevolent joker, like a Loki type, where he's kind of just bouncing and dancing in between cultures and stepping on lines and walking these tightropes, but doing it in a genius manner where all of his words are somehow measured, even though he's kind of like off the cuff. He doesn't seem to say the wrong thing, or if he does, at least it's hilarious.
yeah, he's definitely mastered the art of really getting down that sort of persona. But I'm not gonna lie, I do think in many ways it's pretty much him.
Yeah, it's him, but it's flavored, and I think he's done a good like we were talking about with our artwork, how you saw it, what it was, and then kind of what it is now, and it's distinct now. If you
Yeah.
watch him like early on, maybe his debate about Hamilton with Tom Woods, it's it's Michael Malice, but it's not Michael Malice that you see today.
Well, I
He's
mean,
added more wrinkles to.
yeah. Well, have you seen Fat Malice?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Fat Malice.
Cash Cab, Fat Malice, yeah.
Oh no, I'm talking about the one from when he was talking about North Korea at what's it called? The Free State Project's annual thing, Pork Fest.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
You can see his development of his character. It's not to say that he's fake or anything, but it is what it is. You develop into what's giving you success.
yeah, and in some ways, I think that the character eventually becomes a part of you as well. Like not even thinking of like Liberty, but like Charlie LaDuff or like Hunter S. Thompson, people like that.
Hmm.
There's something about like that persona which almost comes to embody them.
Hmm.
Um,
It's weird now. Like for me, people like well, Fat Dave will just be like, "Yo, Top," and I like respond. I'll turn. When I saw him in Florida, he's like, "Top." I was like, that's not my name, but it's become a, like, I don't know, I guess you get called something so much, or people identify you as something so much, and then it's like, all right, I guess what it is now. So
yeah, it just
yeah.
kind of catches on as like a nickname or so. Well, that's the funny thing about like our little world too. Like, I started off with like graffiti and street art, so like calling someone by like a handle like that is just like, oh yeah, I'm used to that.
Yeah, it's normal. Yeah, actually, that's a big influence on my life too. One of my other cousins is a street artist, like really really good, like wild style graffiti, and the family I married into, not intentionally for this reason, obviously, because I never I I never had any aspirations to make money drawing or anything like that. But my wife's uncles are both famous artists, so and they're like street artists.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, I take a lot of inspiration from their work, what they do. I pick their brain on like their color sequencing and stuff like that, and yeah, it's been a blessing for that.
Yeah, I know. The street art scene has always been a really interesting one. Like I got into that around the same time of like Ron Paul and all that. And in a way, I think a lot of the styles that like myself, some of these other art styles kind of sprung out of that sort of craze that happened when Banksy's Exit Through the Gift Shop came out. Like, there was like a good few years where like street art was like everywhere in the
Yeah.
popular culture. And then you kind of got all these other, other art things that have been popping up since. It seems like NFT art is now the new flavor of the month.
Yeah.
But even then, you look at some of the stuff there, and you can, the cartoony style and everything like that. You can see how it was kind of influenced by, like some of those more wild style, crazy graffiti, like spray paint kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's the same sensibilities, but it's a different media, I think. Because I I don't know. I don't want to speak too broadly, but maybe some of the guys that are in the street art haven't really delved too much into the graphic art, the graphic side of it, and I just feel like that's the way the world is moving now. So it's a hard transition if you go from like I don't know using spray paint or like pastel
To a
markers
computer.
to a computer. Yeah, it's like, oh, I want to blend this color. Like, you just kind of you'll put your oil down and then you can blend it with your finger if you want to. You want to do it on a computer, there's a process, and I don't know, people don't really want to deal with that shit. So it's
Yeah, I mean,
opportunity.
for me, it was kind of an easy transition because, like, me being the punk rock kid, stencils and all that shit is what really spoke to me when I first got into it. Um, so, like, learning to do stencils on Photoshop was one thing, and then one day it just kind of occurred to me, it's like, well, I can do a lot more on here after all.
Yeah, that's I guess that's how my style developed as well. Because I said, all right, I want to do one thing, and then you start to, I want to draw someone's face, so I'll draw your face, and you'll accidentally stumble on different techniques and different ways to, economize how you're doing it, and yeah, then develops into a complete style of your own. Maybe, hopefully, I'm doing some shit wrong. I have no idea what I'm doing.
I mean, that's the whole point of art is just the journey as a whole. But yeah, no, it's really, as far as like liberty and the culture goes, I really think we got to figure out our footing in this whole thing. Like, really jump in and really, I don't know where to start. That's the problem. Is like we don't have like Tim Pool or Ben Shapiro money to go invest in like a film to go make. So it kind of creates this thing like, well, what can we do, if anything?
I think for people like us, um, I think do a lot of free work. Do whatever you can and get it in front of whoever's face you can, and continue to do it even when there's no audience or response to it. Just continue to grind and bang your head into that brick wall until it falls down. That's what we have to do. A lot of people will start something and then get discouraged and stop doing it, or slack off, or that's not how this works. This is a slow process. It's like grains of sand. So one grain of sand at a time, and you just keep going, and you get better and better. Like so I was working my way into the story of like how I got into this with Josh Smith. He bought one of my T-shirts randomly off of Etsy. I saw his name, but I was just like, it could be anyone, Josh Smith. And then it was going to Iowa too, so I was like, I thought he was in California. He bought the shirt. He put it up on Twitter one day, and he was like, I guess he followed me, so he was like, "Oh, awesome, thanks." And from there, I was like, I I messaged him and I said, "Hey, can I do a logo for you?" He was like, "Yeah," because I knew he was starting his show. He's like,
Yeah,
"Hell yeah, go do a logo." So I did a logo, and he was like, "Oh, this is awesome." He used it for a little while, and I was like, "Hey, could I can design some thumbnails if you want." He was like, "Yeah, I actually want someone to do this or that." He explained to me like what he wanted, and I was like, "Yes." Just everything like we were talking about before. Someone asks you for something, yes.
yeah.
Even if you don't want to do it, just yes. And hopefully you have the time to get to it, or you have the skill to do it. But just say yes and fucking just keep putting yourself out there, and you don't know where you'll land up. It would end up.
I mean, that's basically kind of what happened with the Joe Jorgensen "Let Her Speak" poster to some degree.
Oh, you did that one too.
Yeah,
I
I
saw.
did. Unfortunately, I'm
I don't
kidding.
hold it against you, man. No, no. Listen, you have talents, and if they ask for it, do it.
Yeah, well, what happened was I made one poster, and they asked me to do some changes to make it "Let Her Speak" instead of "You Are the Power."
Uh,
Because, like,
it
I
was
do think Spike's slogan "You Are the Power" is very powerful, and they were fools not to use that more.
Yeah. The
Uh,
Let Her Speak was the one. It was like a vector design, right?
yeah, it was a
Red.
vector design, had the tape over the mouth.
Yes, yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
That's a good design though. That's like a really, and it's one of those logos that are like it's like simplistically perfect where people recognize it right off the bat. I didn't know you did that. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, that was the one that opened the door with the Mises Caucus.
Oh,
Because like
nice.
it was after that I talked to them. I was like, hey, is there anything you guys want me to do? Because feel a little bit the campaign's over. What the fuck do I do? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
then you did that Ron Paul piece for them?
did the Ron Paul one, then the Jordan Peterson one. Recently, as of yesterday, put out the Murray Rothbard one.
That one's
And
tight.
we
I
have,
like that one.
yeah. Oh, it's nice is that they have that one. I was the most frustrated with. Like anyone who's an artist, I'm sure you'll get this. Like you almost turn into a perfectionist doing some of that shit.
Yeah.
And like for a long time, I was looking at it like I don't know what else to do, but it's driving me nuts. And finally, I started showing it to people, and like, no, dude, this looks great. It's like, oh god, I'm overthinking this, and I know it.
No, I think it looks good. It's clean, man. I like that. I've
Yeah.
drawn that same Murray Rothbard as well. I have it's a Do You Hate the State version. So I have that one on my website, but it's like a little different. It's more like I guess this it has skin color, skin tones in it.
Yeah.
So I went for like a slightly more realistic cartoon version. But that style is awesome. I was speaking with Eric Brakey 2 weeks ago, and he had mentioned because I'd done some work for the Mises Caucus, and he was like, "Oh, I love that one you did of Ron Paul," and I was like, "Ah, that was
The
actually
fuck,
Nick's."
Breaky? The fuck, man? I've met you.
Oh,
I
you
know
met
you.
him?
I have
Okay.
your number here.
Wow. We gotta get a call him. Call him up right now. This fucking
Oh,
guy,
I
man.
will call his ass up. Like, I'm gonna get him on
I
the show
told him.
just so I can grill him on this.
I told him. I said, no, that was Mitch. I was like, it's my boy from Florida. He did that, and then I said that you were dropping another piece too, but I wasn't sure when. So
Oh,
if you
thank
guys
you,
want to
thank
go
you.
back, listen to that interview. I did pay dues there. I shouted out my boy Ludwig von Mises pieces. So we gotta spread the love in the art community in the Liberty world, man.
Yeah, he's another guy who's been doing a lot of good stuff too. I honestly don't even know who's running that page. Like, I don't even know who that is. I thought it was Dave
I
Casey, but I guess it's not.
no, I don't know if he wants his name out there, but I do
All
know
right.
him.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
if you do know him, I would love to try and get him on here at some point, if he would. But if he doesn't want to do the whole public thing, that's understandable too. Like,
Oh,
keep
you
the
can
Banks
ask him.
persona alive.
Yeah, get him on request him on Twitter, or I'll ask him. I have his personal Facebook page, but I'll see what he says.
Yeah, yeah,
He
that's cool.
he's not as active as he used to be. I guess maybe he's just busy or ran into something, but a lot of his work is great.
I mean,
He's been doing it for a long time.
to be fair, I get life happens. Sometimes you hit an artistic slump where you just don't have it in you for a while. Like, shit happens.
Yeah,
But, I
yeah,
my goal is on here to talk with a lot of art people. I don't want this, much like Malice, I don't want this to be your conventional libertarian show here. I just want to talk to people who like affect the culture, change the culture, just kind of contribute to something different than that which is the mainstream.
yeah, for sure. Well, you're talking about like art slumps. That is a thing, but I find I think it's just mostly mental, man. Sometimes I'll like maybe I'm busy. I've been in the process of moving and buying a house and selling a house, and it's been insane. So I've been trying to balance, having kids, my work life, working for Odyssey, and then doing this stuff for the libertarian movement. And maybe I'll have like 3 days or 4 days where I'm just busy. I can't even look at my tablet, can't even think about it. And the idea of picking it up and starting a new piece is like daunting. I don't know if
Yeah.
that happens to you. Maybe yeah, okay. So I'm not psychotic.
I mean,
It
it is a little bit of that, and it's just sometimes you hit this brick wall. Like I have theories on like different. I'll look at past artists and past musicians and stuff like that just to see how they've done things. And like there are certain musicians that they just grind out so much music and so much stuff that they hit a wall of like I need to take a break or we need to get the fuck away from each other. Like I still think, honestly, the Beatles, the reason they broke up wasn't so much because of Yoko or Paul McCartney, although I think they both were elements in that whole thing. I think it just was four dudes who spent too much time together, constantly playing the music together, and they probably were fucking sick of each other.
Yeah,
You know?
it becomes monotonous. One of my guilty pleasures, one of my favorite artists, hands down, period, is John Mayer, because of his years of work, and in my opinion, probably the best songwriter, not the best singer, the best songwriter, period. and consistently. And if you listen from his albums in the beginning where it's like really pop stuff to all the way till now where he's doing almost like country, he's evolved, and his like phrasing, his songwriting has just become precise. And it's someone that you can tell that he takes his time. He still loves to do this. I don't even know how he like, I don't know how he gets his subject matter, but I appreciate him, man. And the guitar skills are off the hook.
So as far as John Mayer goes, I only know one story about him, and this always cracked me up because I always thought that, I'll tell you the truth, and then I'll tell you what I think it probably happens with him. Apparently, he had like a major ego like breakdown at some point some years ago, but it was all quiet. Like he didn't do it publicly. You know what I mean? And I just think it would be really funny if he was the type of guy that if you were to go up to him, tell him that he sucks and everything like that, he would just be like, thank you. I needed that.
Yeah, probably.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, it's almost like, thank you. I needed to be knocked down a peg.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, at this point, it's hard to tell someone like him you suck. He's like, you've got 200 songs of just, critically acclaimed music, and it doesn't even matter if you get radio play. You know who you are at that point. But here's a question to you. Do you ever get some type of imposter syndrome? That's what it's called. Do you ever feel that way?
Well, what do you mean? I'm not familiar with that. Imposter.
Like, all right.
Does that sound familiar?
So yeah, it's just like, all right, you did the Jorgensen campaign logo,
Yeah.
and somebody, someone sees it and they're like, oh yeah, you're the guy. Oh my gosh, yeah, you. And you're like, oh, that's just, it's awkward. It's weird. Like you feel like you're not. I don't know.
I mean, I've always just leaned into that stuff as like cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've never had anything. Are you talking about, like, for example, I know Noel Gallagher hates the song Wonderwall. He hates being called that Wonderwall guy. You know what I mean?
No,
Is that kind of similar to what you're talking about, or?
no, that's different. I think like, all right. So when I went to Porkfest, you're looking up imposter syndrome.
I am. I'm curious. Doubting your
read,
abilities and feeling like a fraud.
Yes. Yeah. When I went to Porkfest, I came out of my car. I parked, stepped out the car, and I had my Top Lobster hat on, but it's just the logo. And really cool dude. Jesus, what's his name? Graham. He's the photographer. He's at every
Smith?
event. No. I forget. Franklin. Franklin is his name. Yeah. Franklin, he's like he's like a skinny dude, takes all the pictures. He's real quiet, but he was like, oh shit, Top Lobster. And I was like, like it's weird. It was just like weird to me. I was like, yeah, I'm just here. Like I don't, but I mean it's cool in retrospect, but it's still like I just feel like it's awkward to me. And it'll continue to be awkward.
I don't know. There's a few feelings that you make me think of there. In some ways, like just because I'm making art, it kind of makes me think. Just because I used to do the Anarchy Ball comics, if you remember those at all back when.
Oh yeah.
I used to do those, and I had someone one time recognize me as the Anarchy Ball guy, which it wasn't my page; it was someone else's. I just made a bunch of comics for it. And it was I thought it was cool, you know what I mean? I thought it was I kind of like, oh shit, like someone actually recognized some of the shit I did. That's awesome. But then there have been other times, like the Jordan Peterson poster, that one. When I put that one out, I was not at a good point in life in December, just recently around the corner too. I was just not in a good frame of mind. And I remember putting that out and seeing the positive reception to it, but all I could think of was that line from the Tom Petty song, You Don't Know How It Feels. Like, I'm too alone to feel proud. Because it's just like, I'm looking at this and it's like, I don't feel proud of this. I mean, I love Jordan Peterson. I think it's awesome. And now that I'm in a better frame of mind, I realize how awesome it is that I got to make that. But at the time, there was almost like this feeling of like, I just, it's the closest I could think of to what you're describing.
Yeah. A lot of the times, like if I do, like I don't know if I'll do some art, it depends on the piece, but like if it gets like a good reception and people really love it, it's the same kind of thing. I'm like, I thought it was good, but yeah, I'm like, I don't know. Is this really like I know that I can continue to do better. It's just a strange feeling. It's a strange feeling, and maybe
Yeah, and
people that don't.
another thing is, I think when you're an artist and you tend to be very critical of your own work, sometimes there's an element of that too. Like that's kind of what I was feeling with the Rothbard one, where I was just kind of like, I was so
Yeah,
critical of myself that I was just, there's something to that. I don't know, the desire to be a perfectionist, but not really knowing where perfection lies and all that.
yeah. I just did I did a Joe Rogan piece just today that I put out just for fun, and as I'm doing it, I'm looking at all like the parts of it where I'm just like, Jesus, like this isn't that great. This isn't
Yeah.
like. But people, I don't know. If I guess if the people like it, it's cool. But that's called imposter syndrome, and I think I'll continue to have that probably forever, which kind of sucks. But what
It's
are you gonna
only
do?
natural.
Yeah,
Anyway, man, we're reaching the top of the hour here, so I figure we'll bring us in for landing. But it's great having you on the show, though, bud. Like, it's funny. Like, I didn't know you until you came on Swamp Creatures, but like talking with you on that show, it reminded me of there was a story when George Harrison met this other guitarist. I cannot remember who, and my music nerd friend of mine, when he listens to this, is going to tell me who it is. But like when Harrison and this other famous guitarist met each other, they just immediately started talking about the craft and like the art of guitar playing. I feel like that's
yeah,
kind of how we hit it off in regards to like art. You know what I mean?
yeah. It's the
And
spider sense
yeah,
of art. Yeah, it's like, oh,
exactly.
you're autistic like me. All right.
Yeah, yeah. You have the same type of autism. You're missing the same shit.
Yeah, yeah, man.
Anyways,
Yeah,
man,
for sure.
yeah, it's always good
Yeah.
having you on, bud. But do you have anything you want to plug real quickly here at the end?
Yeah, go to toplobster.com or toplobster_ to follow me on Twitter, and I'll be at the convention in Florida. So I'll probably, I don't know if you're gonna go, but
Oh hell yeah, I'm going.
okay, yeah, I was able to get like last minute flight tickets, so I'll be there, and we'll be chilling. I'm bringing t-shirts and stickers and shit.
Hell yeah, it's going to be awesome. And we have the mega cast coming up down there too with our good friends at the Tower Power Hour and the Friendship Simulator. And
What day is that? What day are they
I am
doing that?
not
Do you know?
sure. I'm just waiting to see what they have to say since they seem to be working on all of that aspect of things. But we're also going to try and bully a very consistent motherfucker into coming on too and making an appearance. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
All right, cool, man.
Anyway,
That's cool.
And go check out his t-shirts that he came here to sell on my podcast that was specifically made just for selling t-shirts.
Toplobster.com.
Toplobster.com, and go check out the Libertarian Frontier as well. Check me out on Twitter at Mitch Connor JLo. Anyways, everyone, that has been your State of the Culture.